What is up, YouTubers? It's Harpy189 and the voices in my head coming at you from the Duelist Den. And today I'm going to be profiling my post-Soul Fusion Crusadia deck profile. Now, this deck, I did get the last of what I needed for it at regionals last weekend. And so far at the local events, it's been doing pretty well. So let's go ahead and get into the profile. For the main board, I'm running one Crusadia Reclusia. Reclusia, like all of the other Crusadia main deck monsters, allows you to special summon it from your hand to a zone a link monster points to in defense position. And when it's summoned, you can destroy a Crusadia card you control and a card that your opponent controls. You really don't want to see this card too often because more often than not, you wind up destroying itself. So you really only want to run this at one, at least for this build anyway. I run 3 copies of Arborea. Arborea's effect allows you to banish it either from the field or graveyard to prevent a Crusadia you control from being destroyed this turn. So you definitely want to run it at 3 because it gives you great protection, especially if your opponent manages to get around your OTK and you need to protect your link monsters. I run 2 copies of Leonis. You only need 2 Leonis because Leonis' effect allows you to deal piercing battle damage. And more often than not, your opponent's going to have stuff in attack position. So you need this effect least out of the 2 between Leonis and Maximus. You need this effect the least. So you really only want to run this at 2 just for those occasions where your opponent does have a bunch of stuff in defense. I run 3 copies of Draco. Draco is basically a monster reincarnation built into a monster. Upon its summon, you can add a Crusadia monster from your graveyard to your hand except a Draco. So it does give you recursion with the deck. And then 3 copies of Maximus. Maximus allows your Crusadia Link monster to deal double damage. So you definitely want to run 3 copies of Maximus. I also run 2 copies of World Legacy World Crown. This is pretty much just a 2k beat stick to boost up your Crusadia Link monsters. It gives you free Link material if you need it, and a 2k booty and a 2k attack is pretty good. For the Kaiju engine, I run 1 Thunder King, 1 Jizakuri, 1 Dogoran, 1 Gamacil, and 1 Commungus. I run 5 different Kaijus in here, merely because I do like getting the search off of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, and it also always ensures that I have options for the Kaijus. That I can bring one to my opponent's field and one to mine. I also run 2 copies of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. Very, very good card for pretty much any deck in existence right now. This works really good in the main board instead of the side for Crusadias because Crusadias you definitely want to go second with this deck. For spells, I run 2 copies of Pot of Desires, best neg 9 in history. I run 1 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, 2 Instant Fusions. For Graveyard Recursion, I've got 1 Monster Reborn and 2 World Legacy Secessions. For Back Row Hay, I've got 2 Hay Trunades and 2 Twin Twisters. I run 2 Called by the Graves, 2 Crusadia Powers. Power allows you to protect your Crusadias. 2 copies of Crusadia Revival works real great as it allows your Crusadia Link monster to attack all monsters that your opponent controls this turn, or once per turn anyway. And then 1 copy of Vanguard. Vanguard has really been an MVP for this deck since I put it together, especially on games where my opponent chooses for me to go first. Because you can put Vanguard out with your Equimax. Your Equimax is buffed to hell, and they can only attack the Equimax. So Vanguard is really an MVP for this deck. You really only need 1 copy of it though because it is searchable. That being said, it is susceptible to things such as Twin Twisters and MST and the like. So I mean, if you want to run 2, go ahead, but with this being an OTK deck, you really only need one copy of it, because by the time your opponent gets it off the field, you've already won. For the extra deck, I run 2 fusions. I run 1 Mud Dragon of the Swamp and 1 Sea Monster of Theseus. Now you may be wondering why I don't run 2 Mud Dragons or 2 Sea Monsters. Fairly simple. Mud Dragon is an effect monster, Sea Monster is not. So if I use Instant Fusion onto a Mud Dragon under a Crusadia Link, I do get its effects, whereas if I brought out Sea Monster, I would not. So that's why I run 1 of each of these. And at this point you're wondering, well, why not just run 2 Mud Dragon? Well, that's because of the next 2 cards. I run 2 Synchros. I run a Stardust Dragon and a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. These 2 cards in this deck are very, very good. You can instant fusion into the Theseus, then use the Theseus and one of your level 3s to sync off into Scarlet or Stardust Dragon, either one. Stardust gives you the ability to protect your cards. Scarlet, very, very good in this deck because you can drop the Scarlet on the field under your Equimax, activate Scarlet's ability, all your opponent's shit gets blown up, and then you've got an Equimax with at least 5k attack going at your opponent. Add that onto the effect damage they took off of Scarlet, and it's usually a done deal for the game. For links, I run 3 copies of Magius. Magius is the Crusadia that allows you to search out another Crusadia monster. I run 2 copies of Regulix, which lets me search out my Crusadia spell and traps. And 2 copies of Equimax. Now you may be wondering why I only run 2 copies of Equimax. Well, fairly simple. Equimax, if somebody uses something like, oh, I don't know, Ash Blossom on Equimax, then it's really going to shut you down. So I took out the 3rd copy for a different card that could give me some advantage as well. For the remainder of the links, I run 1 copy of Underclock Taker, just because, you know, it's Underclock Taker. The 3rd Equimax was removed from the deck for the Decode Talker. Decode Talker, not as powerful as Equimax, but it does gain attack for every monster that it points to, so it does potentially give you some OTK potential. Maybe not as good as Equimax, but it does give you a nice little beater. I run 1 copy of Topologic Trisbania as well. Trisbania is very, very good. You put Trisbania on the field, special Crusadia, all your opponent's shit is gone. All this back row is gone, and they're taking damage. And for the last Link monster, I won 1 copy of Topologic Bomber Dragon. Bomber Dragon, I feel, is a must-have in any Crusadia build because you put Bomber Dragon on the field, special Crusadia, blow all your opponent's shit up, and then you just pretty much rinse and repeat. So your opponent can't really do anything, can't keep any monsters out on the field. But that is my Crusadia Kaiju deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this profile. I hope it gives you some ideas for your own Crusadia deck. As always, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything happening here at the Duelist Den. And until next time, this is Harpy189 and the voices in our head. Just want to say Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not just a game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is life.